Mitchell's got a great story. He tried to buy Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s Newell Coach recently. I want to pick your brain on that whole story. Mitchell, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background and what got you to the point where you're out looking to buy a pre-owned Newell or a pre-owned Prevost?
The quick summary of how I got into that realm is I drag race. I build race cars and or street driven race cars. I'm known for an Escalade. I started working for an event series called Streetcar Takeover last summer as an intern. I was in college. Well, in September, I left for a race, and I came to Oklahoma City after that race and hang out with some friends, and I never left. And what I'm sitting in right now is my race trailer. It's a living quarters car hauler, so it's like a 44-foot gooseneck race car trailer with the front half being a completely divided, fully functional living quarters, like a fridge, freezer, microwave, bathroom, shower, all that. It was never my plan to stay gone that long, but after I've been in this thing for a couple months, I'm kind of like, you know what? I should just sell the trailer and my dually and get like a really nice motorhome. And I naturally gravitated straight towards the Prevost and Newells because I grew up going to NASCAR races with my dad, and he had a couple of Country Coach Magnas back in the day. He had a 2000 Magna, like a single, it didn't have a tag axle, it was like 40-foot, one slide out with the cat motor that he claimed was like a total dog, but he drives fast everywhere. So, and then he upgraded that to a 2007 Magna 630. That's the one I remember more of because I was older while being around it. But we go to NASCAR races, we go to like RV resorts, like family vacations and stuff, go to Disney. Like I remember I've been to places like Cherry Stone and Hearthside Grove in Michigan, and I put my rollerblades on and go all around the campground looking at the Prevost. And at that time, the 90s XLs were the most common ones around there because they were still like, they weren't the newest ones, but they were right there. And my dad always drooled over those things too, so we'd walk around the infield of NASCAR races. All the drivers had Prevost and Newells, so like from the very beginning, I knew that was the way to go. And doing all this kind of made that possible for me to do, because if I live in it, I don't have to pay rent somewhere, and I can have the motorhome that I always thought we really would have when I was little.
So I actually met Mitchell. He was actually down at a race in Tucson, and he had sent me a couple messages letting me know that he was going to be in the Phoenix area, and he was actually shopping for Prevost and Newells at Premium Coach Group down in Gilbert, Arizona. And we had chatted a little bit, and I knew he really knew his stuff. And I actually went down, and I think Mitchell was on day 3 or day 4 of inspecting coaches. How many days did you spend inspecting those coaches down at Premium Coach Group?
I think 3, and the fourth day, I test drove a couple of them, which was the first time I'd driven a full-out bus like that. I mean, I'd ridden in my dad's growing up, but I never drove it. And so that was a pretty eye-opening experience.
Yeah,
I only thought I was there one day, and that it just kept going because there were a couple there that I was pretty interested in that ended up not working out.
Yeah, that was cool. You drove a Prevost and a Newell for the first time. So Mitchell's got a YouTube channel as well, Stapleton 42, where he works on a lot of cars, a lot of race cars and stuff like that. So that's a really cool YouTube channel worth checking out. You texted me with a lot of sense of urgency that you had found a bus that you were really interested in, and we try to chat and convey as much information back and forth as much as possible. And you want to tell us a little bit about kind of a special coach that you found. Tell us how you found it, and tell us the story behind that coach.
Well, this goes back to the whole growing up the NASCAR fan thing. I was like, the biggest Dale Earnhardt fan ever. Like one of my earliest memories could point on a specific date to was the day that Dale died. And from then on, I grew up a Kevin Harvick fan because I felt bad for him because he was like the underdog replacement guy. So I'm flipping through classifieds one day, and I see this 1997 Newell come up that wasn't on there before because I looked at all of the different platforms, like RV Trader, RVT, like all of them. I went through them all several times a week, almost every day. And I saw that one. It didn't have a picture come up yet. It said image not available, but it looked like it was a decent price. I'm like, what's this? I see the description. It says, custom made 1997 Newell, previously owned by Dale and Teresa Earnhardt. And I'm like, okay, dude, yeah, right. And I'm like, is this guy for real? And I started looking at the pictures, and I'm like, nah, whatever. And then the thing that really set it off for me was the engine was red. Like, if you ever seen a red Detroit 60 Series,
no,
they're all blue.
Yeah.
Like this one was custom painted red to match all the other stuff, like the trim on the outside. Through the magic of the Newell community, I was able to do some digging online and find the previous owner of that build number. And I found his phone number, and this is all like 20 minutes after seeing the ad because I'm geeking out. And I called him just out of the blue. And I was like, I know you don't know who I am. I saw you were the previous owner of Newell 457, whatever. Was this actually Dale's bus? And he's like, yes, it was. And I talked to him for a little bit. He gave me some of the backstory. So, and I blew this thing up. Like I called the guy, texted the guy, emailed the guy. Like I was dead set on. There was no like going to look at it. Like I went out there to buy it, and I didn't come home with it, and that's done a lot.
Yeah, you were really excited about that. As a potential RV buyer, you really do your homework. What do you do when you're inspecting a coach? You're thinking about investing. It's a big investment right now in your life. You're a young guy. You're not like these retired guys that have millions in bank accounts. You buying a coach, you got to make sure you're making a wise purchase, and you're definitely you've got a lot of wisdom. I'm from talking to you, I can tell you know your stuff. What do you do when you're inspecting a coach? What's kind of your process there?
Well, I didn't really have a process at first, but every time I walked into one, it would just kind of evolve. That I see a little something here in this one, I'll check other ones. It builds from there. Like the more I looked at, the more refined it got. And by the time I got to this one, the Dale's old one, I was on a freaking warpath of like checking everything. Like I had a list, like on this little notebook here. I had like 2 pages full of this and stuff I wanted to look at, and I wiggled every single cabinet door. I kept track of how many hinges were loose. I flipped every switch, opened every window, tested every appliance on the inside, and I ran through that thing by myself for about 5 hours after I finally got a hold of the guy, because that's a whole other... I knew the first time I saw it, I'm like, man, this thing is not in very good shape. Like, it was neglected. Like, the paint was peeling everywhere, like the front windshield popped off, and the guy like goobered it back up with tape, and the mirror was like loose and wiggly. He already told me that the slide up didn't work. I don't think the current owner had ever had a motorhome before this.
What was the asking price? What was the seller asking for it in the original ad?
He was asking $752.
And how did your negotiations go with him? Did you beat him up on it, or what did you do? Are you drinking White Claw right now, bud?
White Monster.
Nice.
But yeah, as far as the negotiations went, I was hesitant to make him an offer because the more and more stuff I looked at, the less and less I thought it was worth, and the less I wanted it, because it was just system after system after system that was just messed up. And I called you after the first day I looked at it because I wanted to drive it, and it was dead.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, yeah, he's like, you know what? Like, I'll charge it. You can get a motel. Come back tomorrow at 7 in the morning. It'll be ready to go. So I'm like, okay. And then I called you and was telling you all the things that were wrong with it, like the fiberglass breaking off the sides, the paint chipping, and just like the general condition of it, like all the slides, like the trim on the base of the slide bays was beat up, and there was actually like rat poop like in the bays. Like there
Oh
were,
man.
I don't know if you saw in some of those pictures I sent you, but the tailpipe like muffler was like rotted out, and he had like patched it up and riveted it with a coffee can, and then that rotted out too. So when he fired it up, it just went boom, just black smoke out everywhere. Like that exhaust did not follow the path it was intended to. It was just a mess. And it was running for like 5 minutes, and he shut it off, and I see him walk around the back with his belt. And he's like, oh, the belt flew off. He's like, oh, worry, I got another one. I'm like, oh, man.
Oh man. So the transmission. And then, so how did that test drive go? So you did get to the point where you were gonna drive this coach.
Yeah, he was driving. I was very nervous to take it on the highway because of the tires, but I was like, at least got to take it around town and make sure it's all good, because it hadn't left his yard in 2.5 years, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't know if this thing works at all, because before I drove out there, he told me, he's like, yeah, I'd hop in and drive to New York right now. So he never told me it didn't sit for 2.5 years. Like, that's not good. And so we get it, and he goes around the block, and it starts to smell like rubber. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And he smelled it too, so he pulled back in. And we look, and the driver's side axle was not airing up. So the coach was going down the road, just dragging the tire in the top of the wheel well. And he's like, oh, this has happened before. It's that, I guess it was like a ride height sensor arm on there, and it had got flipped around. So the suspension system didn't know to air up that axle. And he's like, oh, well, I just got to get in there and flip that around, and then we can go back out. Like this happened before. So I'm like, okay. That's like, okay, well, once again, that was like, oh, I can fix that. But at the back of my mind, I'm putting that like 18,000th on the list of, oh, I can fix that. So he tries to jack it up. And this coach has it has hydraulic jacks to level it too, in addition to the air system, which I thought was pretty cool. But they didn't work. It couldn't even pick itself up enough to get his arm in there. And this guy was getting like frazzled. He was just like taken out of me, and I'm kind of getting uncomfortable at this point because I didn't do anything wrong, but like, he was just handling it weirdly. I didn't really know what to do. I just wanted to see it work, and the more stuff we messed with, the more it didn't work. And I'm trying to help him figure it out, and I was like, well, can we just like test the leveling system? Like, I just want to see it level. I didn't know if this guy was just working the system right. I'm like, just pick it up. Like the jack would go down, but it would like touch the ground and then come back up. Like it would just, like the springs that held the feet down were overpowering the hydraulic pressure. It was that weak. And we tried to do its auto level thing, and the whole coach was just like tweaking out. Like it wouldn't, when you hit that button, it kind of goes up one side, and it'll do a little over here, do a little over there, and then kind of settle itself out. Well, this one was just like freaking, like it looked like it was going to tip over.
Oh shoot!
Like this is not working. When I had also looked at all of the records on this thing. That's part of my process too. Is usually these guys will have like a binder or a folder or something in one of the cabinets somewhere that's just packed full of service records, receipts, all that stuff. And I found a bunch of them for this one. And how I said earlier, that front window was popped out. That had happened to the previous owner too, and actually Marathon in San Antonio, Florida fixed it. I found a record for that from 2008, and they said the front window frame didn't, like, there was unusual tension on the frame. It's possible the coach had been torqued at some point, repaired but not guaranteed. So the frame was twisted or something. And it did it again to this guy. That's why he put tape over it. And when the jacks were doing their thing, I could see like some of the fiberglass paneling between the slide out and the bay door. There's like a strip there. It was buckling out.
Oh man.
Yeah, was that?
Yeah, man. Wow, that's crazy. So this Newell, so you were pretty excited about this Newell coach. You thought you were going to have the opportunity to buy a coach from kind of your childhood legend, and have an opportunity to buy the coach that your childhood legend owned, and then you got there, and it sounds like it definitely kind of was turned from a dream into a nightmare, huh?
Yeah, it was just like, it was so cool digging through all the paperwork, and you know, the original floor plan was on there. It had the build order with the address for DEI on it. It had Dale's name all over it. And I'm just like, I'm basking in the history of this. And I filmed all of that with my GoPro. I did a whole walkthrough of it. So I'm going to make a video of that and put that on my channel, like flipping through the paperwork and testing everything and whatnot.
Yeah, when are you going to have that up? Your YouTube channel, Stapleton42, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. How quickly do you think you'll have that edited and uploaded?
I'm going to be working on that today, so it'll be up in the next couple days.
Awesome.
By the time this comes up, it'll probably be there, and if it's not, it'll be very soon.
Great. You went there, and then you kind of got to the point where it sounds like you picked this coach apart, and it needed just so much stuff that it wasn't going to be. It was a project that, even with the history of the coach and tying that legendary name to it, there just wasn't the value there because it needed so many repairs, or that's how you assessed it?
Yeah, it just wasn't even, it wasn't even close. Like, it had so many major issues, and we talked about this on the phone, like all the, the washer, dryer, water heater, like the aqua hot worked, all that stuff worked, which is great, but that's also the easiest stuff to fix.
Yeah.
But the actual coach bones had problems. And it was just, even if it was Dale's, like, I am not in a position to where I could take on a project like that. Like, I need it to work because I need to tow my Escalade with it. And if I can't do that, then I got a yard ornament, which is basically what I told the guy after he couldn't fix the leveling system. Like, I couldn't drive it. He couldn't fix it. He couldn't drive it. And he got mad for trying to fix it. Eventually, he was just like, he's in there screwing it. He gets out. He's like, well, I give up. You seen it. You looked at it. You looked at everything. You either want it or you don't. And he just like walked over to his porch and sat down and lit up a cigarette. And I'm just like, okay.
I remember, I think you called me or you texted me at that point, and how did that? So you basically worn the guy down, you looked through the coach. What did you do from that point on? Did you just tell him you don't want it, or did you lowball offer him, or what happened there?
I just waited until he kind of cool off and collect his bearings, because I knew that he may have been taking it out on me, but I didn't take it personally. I from his shoes, I can understand why he would be irritated. And he had back problems, so I know that like all the moving around was causing me pain. So I didn't, it didn't really fluster me, but I was like, I'm going to let him calm down a bit and he'll make the next move. So I just, looked at things, walked around until he gathered himself and came back over. And he was like, my wife reminded me that I don't have insurance on it, so even if I get this fixed up, we can't drive it anywhere. I'm like, what would that do me? Like, would anybody buy a coach without test driving it?
No, I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, grandson could be here in like 15 minutes to fix his arm, but we still can't take it out. So like either want it or you don't. I'm like, well, I mean, I can't. Obviously, there's a lot more wrong with this than either one of us had known about prior. How are you thinking that reflects in value? And he was like, well, I'd have to get approved from my wife and stuff, but like, I think we could do 62. And I'm like, he's like, can you do 62? And I'm like, man, if I can't drive it, I can't make an offer on anything. And at that point, he was just like, you know what, whatever. And he just walked away. So I got my truck and drove back to Oklahoma.
Well, and that 62 grand, maybe for someone that really is a huge Dale fan and really wants a project and they're able to do that much work, but it might be a good bus for that person, but it sounds like for you personally, it just was a lot more work than what it needed. Yeah, I can understand your reasoning for that. Well, so did you learn a lot? Trying to buy Dale's bus, do you have any takeaways that you think would be good to leave the folks on YouTube with?
My general takeaway is I don't know if I want to crave over Newell, but the more of these I've looked at of that age range, I don't want to get burned at the stake or anything by saying this, because it goes both ways. I really think that the Prevos age better. They just seem to live like the wear items. They just handle age better.
Yeah,
it seems like from my experience. However, I'm a really big fan of the Newell network and service reputation, especially because they're only a couple hours away from me in Miami. So weird saying that. I think it's Miami from here, but it's tough. Like, I think for me and for anybody else who's looking to get into something that they are going to depend on and just drive and park it, do their thing, leave, and like they want something that's the most hands-off experience, probably about the way to go. I've concluded from that and from talking to other people. If you put an emphasis on living space, I go with a Newell because they're, you can't get into a Prevo with a slide for like less than 200 grand. It seems like.
Yeah. And you can get into Newells with double slides for 100 grand all day.
Yeah, maybe some of them won't work right or they need a bladder thing, but that's on you.
Yeah, for the right guy that can fix that stuff, it might be the right coach. So,
for what it's worth, I did call Newell service when I was driving out there to like kind of get a ballpark of what I would need to do on this thing. Yeah. And something interesting I learned is they told me that the bladder for the slides is it's a one size fits all. So you can fix it yourself, but you got to get the bladder and the splice kit, and you got to like cut it to fit and like put it together to fit your specific slide. The thing I learned about the Newell slides is that when I was talking to the guy on the phone, who was awesome to deal with, he was super helpful and super interested in helped me figure out whatever I needed to know. I was like, what would cause one of these slides to not work? Like, why would it get stuck in? And he was like, well, if it gets stuck in, there's a multitude of things that it could be. He said it's more likely to get stuck out because if you leave it out, whenever the fly goes out and the other floor kind of raises up, he said the worst case they ever had was somebody in Florida who left their slide out for a long time and water had gotten into that mechanism and like corroded and seized it up. So they couldn't get it in. They eventually got it muscled in and took it to Newell. And it was so bad that Newell had to send the coach to HWH and have the whole thing redone.
Wow. Do you know what that cost them?
I don't know. I don't know if he told me. I don't know if I asked asked or even wanted to know, but the mechanism is like a telescoping arm system under there, and when that gets corroded and stuck out, then it's almost impossible to get back in. But something else I learned through digging through the Newell slide saga, I want to learn everything I could about these, is through my racing, I've gotten to know some of the people from Richard Childress Racing, the team that Dale used to race for. And one of the guys I know is actually a coach driver for RCR. Like, he's been the coach driver since like the early 90s. He's driven them all, Prevost, Newells, from then up until now. So I was having a conversation with him about these things, and he was like, something that he does to properly care for these, he's like, if it snows, put the slides in, even if it's only going to be half an inch. He's like, before you put them in, if it's been sitting for a while, go check up there for like leaves and stuff, because that can get into the tracks.
Yep.
And it was really interesting to hear his little tips and tricks and just what he thought between the two. He was partial to Prevost for the driving aspect of it, which I think is kind of the consensus for most people. The Prevost drives better, and I experienced the same thing when I drove in the freaking coach group.
That's very cool. No, I appreciate you sharing that wisdom, man. And you're unbiased. You know, you definitely, you're definitely telling it how it is. So, well, man. So what's next? What's your next move? What are you gonna buy? What's your game plan?
Well, my next move is I'm still looking. The whole coronavirus thing has kind of pumped the brakes on my search for a bit, but I'm still checking everything every day and looking. And I've also kind of thrown the newer Magnas into my search mix too, because I'm just familiar with them. I really like them. I think for value what they are, pretty dang good. And they got good motors. The Cat C15 in the older ones is a powerhouse. And for a guy like me, I like that, because, Andrew, I know I told you that nobody else knows. Whatever bus I get, I plan on building, like power-wise. I'm going to make it a hot rod, like compound turbos. It's going to make them no muffler. It's going to be loud, like it'll make black smoke, make people mad, but it'll sound like a Peterbilt, but it'll look like a fancy bus.
Heck yeah, man. There's a lot of people out there, myself included, that look forward to seeing that. So I'm hoping that your search, hoping you get in something sooner than later to take your Escalade to all the races. And what's next in the race scene? Are you guys still racing during coronavirus, or what do you guys got going on right now?
A whole lot of nothing. All the races are on hold. Like, there's no car meets, like nothing. It's just companies or their distributions are slowed down, if not completely stopped. Like, basically the entire car world is on pause, and there's a lack of content for everybody. So we're seeing a lot of like recycled stuff and more user created content getting out there on these mainstream pages, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of shakes it all up.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm just working on my Escalade, getting it ready to be the best it can when it comes back out, because I recently blew up the transmission. So
I saw that on Instagram. Yeah, no, well, that's good stuff, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today, and I've been wanting to have you. I've been wanting to meet up with you in person to make some YouTube videos, but it's a good time with the situation. I appreciate you taking the time to Skype here today and make this YouTube video. So we'll put that out there, and everybody out on YouTube, make sure you go check out Mitchell at Stapleton42 on YouTube and on Instagram as well, right?
Yep, I'm going to get cracking on this in-depth video of the Dale's Newell here pretty soon, and probably get back and look at some classifieds.
Heck yeah, brother. Well, keep me in the loop, man. Let me know if you see anything good out there, and appreciate you taking the time, and let's chat again soon.
I will. Sounds good.
All right, brother. Have a good day, man. Thanks again.
You too.